Today is Saturday, the 27th of May 2023, and we are gathered here for the 83rd session on mindfulness for beginners in the English medium. And on behalf of all of us joining through Zoom and the Facebook live stream, I would like to welcome with much respect Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero, representing Nissarana Forest Monastery, who has arrived in this session to provide us with much needed and much valued insight on mindfulness practice. And alongside with that, I would also like to welcome with much respect to all of you who are attending through the Zoom broadcast and also through the live stream of the Satipasala Foundation's webpage, Facebook webpage. With that, I would like to invite Venerable Bhante to commence with the in-session practice with guidance from Bhante for today's session. Over to Bhante. Much merits, Bhante.
Thank you, Namanta. Hello, everybody. So today we will start with a sitting practice. We'll take few minutes to sit in a mindful manner and try to practice mindfulness in a sitting posture. So you have to adjust your seat, make sure that you are comfortable. Once you have that comfort, you can close your eyes and simply be aware. You are seated in a comfortable manner. You have your eyes closed. Try to notice what is happening in the present moment. What comes to your field of awareness. Now we are not going to concentrate on a certain sensation. Instead, we allow our mind to flow naturally. And we try to observe. We try to notice what is happening. When you allow your mind to flow naturally, it might go to various objects. Sometimes it may jump to surrounding sounds. Sometimes to bodily sensations. Sometimes to thoughts, memories. We are not disturbing this natural flow. Instead, we try to observe it. We try to be mindful of it. You try to be aware of this flow while allowing the flow to continue. As a group, let's try to continue our practice like this. Okay, everyone, now you can open your eyes again. So that's about 15 minutes of mindful sitting that we just practiced. So the idea is that you can practice on your own. This is just to give you an idea about the practice. Try to do every day at least 20-30 minutes of mindful sitting. If you can do it in your daily schedule, then you can really get a feel of the practice that we are suggesting. So with that, now Mantha, you can take over.
Thank you very much, Merit Bante, for that session on with guidance. Now, we would like to move on to the talk on mindfulness, and the topic chosen for today's session is Wu Wei, and Bante will go ahead and provide us with an insightful talk. So, with regard to the talk, I would like to invite Bante with much respect to commence the talk on mindfulness for today's session. Over to Bante, much merits again.
Thanks, Namantha. So everybody, we will take some time to discuss about today's topic, and we'll try to figure out how it is related to our practice as well. So that way we will try to spend some time regarding this topic, discussing about this topic. So in your lives, if you think about it, most of the time you try to do things. You plan a lot. So much of planning that you do. Let's say on average we are living around probably like 80 years. But 80,000 years of planning you do. Every day you plan. Tomorrow a new plan. Day after tomorrow another plan. This way you keep planning. You keep forcing things. But when you really look into your plans, when you really look into what happened in the past, you may realize that most of the planning, they didn't work out. Most of the forcing, they didn't work out. Instead, certain things happened, but according to their own schedule, according to their own rhythm. So that's how the life is. You have effort, you can do effort, you can put effort, but things happen according to their own timing. Things happen according to their own schedule, right? So when we have so much of planning, when we try to force things in our life, then most of the time we end up suffering. We end up creating friction. We end up worrying. We end up adjusting our plan again and again due to the current situation. So that way you create friction. That way you create worry. That way you create suffering due to this force in your life. You're forcing things. You're planning things. You put too much effort. So that's the nature. That's the usual way that we deal with our lives. But there's this Japanese concept which is called Wu Wei. I'm sorry, it's Chinese, I guess. It's a Chinese concept which is called Wu Wei. The translation, some people say effortless action. Some people say action of non-action. But if you think about it, maybe it's better to say not forcing. Wu Wei is the idea of not forcing. We allow things to evolve and we take our position according to that evolution. We wait for the right time and we take our position accordingly. So that's the idea that they are giving. And if we can relate that idea to our lives, if we can practice that idea in our lives, then you may realize that most of your worrying, most of your stress, those things will vanish. You'll become more and more peaceful. You'll find the rhythm of the nature. You'll find the rhythm of the world that's around you. So that's the idea, not forcing. We'll take that way. Now, when we think about not forcing, you can get great examples from nature. When the water is flowing, it is flowing downstream. It is going in search of lower lands. That's the nature of the water. Let's say in this pursuit, water come across an obstacle. What will happen? Does it start hammering this obstacle? No, instead, it goes around. It yields according to the obstacle. And naturally, with time, the water will pass that obstacle and again start flowing in search of lower lands. That's how the water is. It is not forcing. It is not struggling. It is not hammering the obstacle. Instead, the water is accepting the obstacle. And with that acceptance, it is working around that obstacle. That's how the nature is. That's how the water is. Another example, a tree. Let's say a tree is growing. The tree has its own plans. Suddenly, due to some trouble, suddenly due to some storm, a branch is broken. So does it start crying? Does it start complaining? No, it is accepting the incident that has happened and again start working. Initially you feel that tree is damaged. But within few weeks, within few months, you realize now it is growing again. Now it is on its own path again. So that's how the nature is. So they say in nature, the nature doesn't hurry, but nothing left undone. Nature doesn't hurry. But if you think about it, if you look around, everything is done perfectly. Nothing left undone. So that's the idea of the Wu Wei. That's the idea of not forcing. Now, when it comes to your lives, usually we think that we need to force things. We need to hammer things. We need to power through. That's the idea. That idea is relatively new. In this new age, we have this idea. But in the history, probably we had a different kind of attitude towards life. So this forcing idea, this powering through idea, it is fairly new. In this new age, we have these ideas. You have to hammer through. You have to power through. You have to get rid of things. That's how. Go listen to a motivational speech. You will hear this a lot. Go on YouTube, you will hear this a lot. So that's the new age that we are living in. What's the result? Depression. What's the result? Suffering. Suicides. Those are the results that we have in this new age. Because you are not adjusting your life, you are not flexible. Instead, you try to power through. Instead, you try to use force all the time. Another example in your own life would be sleep. Let's say tomorrow you have some important meeting. You have to get up early. So tonight you get ready, you prepare everything, and you decide tonight I'll fall asleep early. I'll try to catch this many hours of sleep so I can go fresh tomorrow. Then you go to your bed and you start forcing yourself into the sleep. What will happen? You will end up staying up late, even later than your usual schedule. Probably till 12 in the night, you may still be awake because you are trying to force yourself into the sleep. So these things are natural. This is how it happens. You can't force yourself into the sleep. That's not possible. You can't force your mind to relax. That's not possible. Instead, that has to come naturally. That has to evolve naturally. When your mind is relaxed, you naturally fall asleep. That's the nature of the sleep. Let's say you go to bed after a hectic day. Then suddenly all the thoughts, incidents, worries, they start coming. You think about various things, you remember things that happened today, various things are there. So if you try to stop this, then you will end up staying up late. Instead, if you allow this process to happen, naturally your mind will relax. And at a certain point, without even knowing, you fall asleep. So that's the nature of the sleep. Your mind has to relax. When the mind is relaxed, you naturally go into your sleep. So these things are good examples that we can relate to our lives. We can figure out that forcing is not the way. Forcing is not the only way. Instead, there are other opportunities. There are other ways. So this idea is just to give you a different attitude, different point of view towards life. You don't have to force everything. Instead, you can learn from nature. Instead, you can learn from a tree. Instead, you can learn from water. Learn the art of not forcing. Learn the art of waiting till the proper moment. So that's the idea that they are giving under this topic, Wu Wei. It is called not forcing in life. Now, when we talk about mindfulness, does it relate to this concept of not forcing? Now you might start thinking whether it is related, whether it is not. Now, when it comes to the practice, let's say trying to be mindful. Earlier, you were not mindful. Now you get the idea of mindfulness. Then you start practicing mindfulness. Now, when you start practicing mindfulness, you try to force yourself to be mindful. And what will happen? Some people say, I walked all right till this day. Now I can't walk because I am trying to practice mindful walking. My body was breathing 30, 40, 50, 60 years. But as soon as I start mindful sitting or mindfulness of breath, then the breathing is not happening naturally. I am having trouble breathing. So these are usual complaints that we get. When you start mindful walking, your body struggles to walk. When you start practicing mindful sitting, your breath becomes forceful. You struggle to breathe. So these things are natural in our practice. But with time, you figure out the proper balance. With time, you to develop the ability to allow your body to walk naturally and be mindful. With time, you develop the ability to allow your body to breathe naturally and be mindful. So with time, you figure out the proper balance. You can't force your mind to be mindful. Instead, you have to find the proper balance. That proper balance is exactly the balance that we are talking when it comes to the practice of Wu Wei. When you have that proper balance in your mind, naturally it will go to your actions in the world. So first you have to develop this inside. Develop this quality in your mind. What is the proper balance? So many thoughts are there. Can I force these thoughts away from my mind? Past memories are there. Can I force these memories out of my mind? That some people try. Under the name of the practice, they try. They try to force the thoughts out of their mind. They try to force past memories, incidents out of their mind. Sometimes they try so hard, they end up consuming things like alcohol or something else. They want to force these things away out of my mind. Usually those addictions, they are not just addictions. There's a cause behind those addictions. Probably a problem at home, probably a past memory incident, probably some other cause. So these people, they try to force these things away from their mind. When they are high, they can stay for a while. They can be happy for a while. Again, the problem appears. Again, the problem comes after a few hours. So when it comes to the practice, if we try to force the thoughts out of our mind, if we try to force the past memories out of our mind, then that is not the proper balance that we are talking. That's why most of the time we have to suggest that allow the thoughts to be there. Allow the past memories to come and go. Again and again we are suggesting, because otherwise you think that you can force these things out of your mind. You think that you can force yourself to sleep. That's not possible. Instead, among these things, you have to develop the skill to be mindful. It's a skill that you are developing. It's the proper balance that you are trying to find. That proper balance will come with time, with repetitive practice. You realize among these thoughts, I'm able to observe my breath. Among these various sounds, sights, various other things, I am able to observe my steps. That ability you will develop with repetitive practice, with time. That's the real idea of our practice. So in a way, we are not forcing ourselves. We are not forcing ourselves to be mindful. If you try that, you end up being more and more unmindful. You complain that earlier I was fine. Now so many thoughts, memories, they come and bother me. I can't even be mindful of a single step or of a single breath because of these things. That's your usual complaint. Now, because you are forcing yourself to be mindful. That's not possible. Initially, it's natural. The new practitioners, they try to force themselves to be mindful. Forcing is natural initially. That's one end of the practice. Earlier, you were in the other end. What is the other end? Not practicing at all. Giving up. When it comes to the Wu Wei, the idea of not forcing, We are not giving up. Don't get me wrong. If you give up and decide not to do anything, that's not the way. That's not the way. Instead, we are putting effort when the time is right. We act when the time is right. You are not saying like a rock, or you are not saying like a tree. Instead, you wait till the proper time, then you act. Your efficiency becomes much higher. Your energy wastage becomes much lower because you are not forcing. You wait till the proper moment, then you act, then you put pause. When that happens, you realize with a touch, everything works. With a touch, entire project goes. That's the power, that's the waiting till the right moment. That's the proper balance that we are trying to find, right? So when it comes to the practice of mindfulness, earlier you didn't practice. That's one end. Given up, not putting any effort at all. Then other end is that forcing yourself to be mindful. Unmindfulness versus forcing yourself to be mindful. These two extremes are natural in your life. But what we ask is repetitive practice. When you repetitively practice, you find the proper balance. You know when to put pause. You know when to not act. That proper balance you can figure out with repetitive practice. So try to do a sitting session daily. At least like 30 minutes of sitting daily. Do you have that time? Can you fix it in your schedule? Probably early in the morning with 30 minutes of sitting, you start your day. You make it a habit. Every day you start your day with 30 minutes of mindful sitting. Try to practice it for a few months. Then probably during the day or towards the end day, before you fall asleep, before you go to sleep, you do 30 minutes of mindful walking. Try to make it a habit of your daily life. Then continue few months. Then you realize in your practice, you find the proper balance. How to be mindful among all these things. How to allow your body to walk naturally and observe this body. How to allow the breath to happen naturally and observe this breath. As a third party, you are observing. The body walks. And as a third party, you are observing. The breath is happening. As a third party, you are observing. That balance you can take with time. That balance you can develop with time. Let's say suddenly a thought comes. Your mind is not shaken. Usually what happens when a thought hits you, suddenly you get this jerk. You say, I am unmindful. Another thought came. This is disturbing. Something like that. There's this jerk. It triggers you. But with practice, you realize you were mindful of your breath. Then a thought came, your attention went there. You were mindful of the thought. Then again, it returned to your breath after a while. So this change happened, but your mind was not shaken. That way of practice you can develop with time. And we say if your mind was not shaken, your mindfulness was intact. Again, I am saying, if your mind was not shaken, then your mindfulness was intact during this process. You are mindful of your breath, you are mindful of the thought, then the thought disappears and you are mindful of your breath again. So that fine balance you can develop with time. With time you realize, I am not shaken due to these thoughts. The thoughts come and go, but the mindfulness is intact. The sounds come and go, but the mindfulness is intact. Various other things come and go, but the mindfulness is intact. That very balance you can develop, that fine balance you can develop with repetitive practice. This is the gateway towards the not forcing that we are talking about. This is the gateway towards Wu Wei that we are talking about. Your body walks naturally and you are able to observe like a third party. Your body breathes naturally, you are able to observe like a third party. The thoughts, sounds, various other things come, but your mindfulness is not shaken. So even today's practice session, we try to not force ourselves. The instructions were just allow the mind to flow naturally and try to be aware. When you allow your mind to flow naturally, it is going through a healing process. That's what happens. That's what triggers you usually. You don't like this healing process. Why? Because the healing, all the bad thoughts, memories, those things come. All the suppressed thoughts, memories, they come. So that's why you don't like being mindful. Most people, instead of mindfulness, they are asking for some kind of a drug. So you can get high. They ask, can I stay without any thoughts? Can I stay in a blissful state, some unknown world, some heavenly state? Can I stay? Because they are trying to suppress the reality. They are trying to suppress the thoughts, problems, memories that they have. So they think even mindfulness, it's something like a drug. Even meditation, it's something like a drug. That's why nowadays you find so many meditation techniques. And most of them, they need chemical aid. Either like something like mushrooms. So many ceremonies are there. A bunch of people, they get together, they have certain kind of mushrooms. They pray for some unknown god and take these mushrooms. Within few hours, they realize, heavenly. So blissful. All the problems, issues, memories forgotten. So that's what they think as meditation. That's what they think as practice. No matter how you try, you can't get rid of this reality. You can't suppress this reality. Instead, you have to go through the healing process. You feel better with the healing. That's the reality of this world. You can't expect some magic mushrooms to come and save you. You can't expect some unknown person to come and save you. That's not practical in this world. Instead, we are taking a scientific approach towards changing our mind for better. That process requires healing. Healing from your psychological wounds. Healing from your bad memories. And probably healing in your physical body as well. So many toxins in your body. They influence your mood. They influence illnesses in your body. So as soon as you become mindful, detoxing happens. You don't feel very well. Detoxing symptoms you get. Body starts sweating for unknown reasons. Sometimes you can't maintain the posture. Sometimes unknown pain appear. You don't know what's the cause of this. So that's the healing process, either in your body or mind. the healing process is starting. As soon as you become mindful, especially during the mindful sitting, you can really feel this. The healing process starts. If there are any broken bones, like probably like 10 years ago, broken bones, but still you feel that joint aching, you feel that bone aching, you feel the injury is coming back. But what is actually happening is the remaining healing process. As soon as you become mindful, your body is healing itself. Your mind is healing itself. This healing doesn't feel very well. That's the issue. It doesn't come with a label saying healing. Instead, you feel bad. Instead, your body sweats for no reason. Instead, you feel pain for no reason. You get so many past memories, thoughts, like a chain, like a train, the thoughts are coming. So we say chain thoughts, train thoughts, and sometimes not like a train, sometimes not like a chain, like a 6-lane highway, the thoughts are coming. Not like a chain, not like a train, like a 6-lane highway. So many thoughts are coming. So you feel that your mind is about to go crazy. No, this is the healing process. When you become mindful, it is natural, the healing process happening. So you have to allow this healing process also. We are not suppressing that healing process. If you start suppressing your thoughts, memories, then you are suppressing the healing. That doesn't mean you go lost in thoughts. Instead, you find the proper balance while allowing these thoughts to come and go. I am trying to be mindful of my breath. While allowing these memories to come and go, I am trying to be mindful of my steps. While allowing this body, while allowing the detoxing symptoms in my body, I am trying to be mindful of my breath. That proper balance you need in your practice. That proper balance you can develop with repetitive practice. And when you find that proper balance, you realize even in your day-to-day life, you are not forcing in everything. When problems come, you don't try to hammer through. Instead, you face the problems like water. Allow the problem to be, and you work around it. Within few hours, within few days, even without you knowing, suddenly a solution come to you. Or maybe within few days, the problem vanishes. You can't even remember the problem that you had. So that's not forcing in life. It is very much related to the internal practice that we are doing. If we have not forcing in our mindful practice, then that same will reflect to the outside. So we have not forcing in our outside life as well. That balance will start internally. That's why most people, if they don't get correct instructions, they become even more stressful with meditation. Earlier, the person was fine. He was eating, he was drinking, he was doing his own thing, he was fine. As soon as this person starts meditating, he creates more and more stress. The reason being, they are doing some kind of a wrong kind of a meditation. They are suppressing their thoughts. They are suppressing their memories. They are suppressing the healing in this body. They say concentration. I need concentration practices. I need mushroom practices. These things they are saying. But when it comes to the practice, we allow the healing process to evolve. with that healing, it's a scientific approach. Gradually, we are taking this approach towards betterment. With time, you feel much better. With time, you feel more and more comfortable in your body. With time, you feel more and more comfortable in your day-to-day life. With time, you feel more and more comfortable in your meditation. That is the natural healing that will happen, and you are finding the proper balance. The balance of not forcing. Facing the life like water. Facing the life like nature, not forcing. But you are not given up. You act when the time is right. You put effort when the time is right. That very balance you can figure out with time. With practice, you can figure it out. And you realize majority of the stress that you had in your life will disappear. Now, even for little things, we are worrying. Thinking. That is how you have trained your mind to be. Even little problems, they worry. Everything you try to resolve. All the people around you, you try to advise them. Even you see a slight mistake, a slight fault, you go and lecture them. That's how the behavior is. That's the forcing that's in your life. You are forcing other people to align with your thoughts, concepts. You are forcing yourself to align with your thoughts, concepts. Even you are forcing the nature to align with your wishes. Me versus the nature. That's not a good combination to have. That's not a good fight to have. Me versus nature. You are not gonna win it. So if you know the proper time to act, if you know the proper time to put force, then you realize majority of the stress, majority of the worrying, it will disappear. And more incremental levels of peace you will feel. You don't try to correct everything. You allow things to be. When it is necessary, you act. When it is necessary, you suggest something. When it is necessary, you put pause. Otherwise, most of the things, they resolve themselves. You don't have to act. Even the people in your life, if you know this art, then they might even listen to you. Now you are trying to correct everything. Now you are trying to pause everything. They are sick of listening to you. But if you know the proper timing, if you know the proper way, then you realize we are not perfect. That's the nature of humanity. So you have to be compassionate towards other people. You have to be compassionate towards you. You have to accept that you are with fault. You have to accept that others are with fault. When you have that acceptance, you don't try to force people to align with your thoughts, ideas. Who are you to decide that what is right or wrong for them? Who are you to decide that is what is right or wrong for you? You don't have that ability. You don't know what is right for you. You don't know what is right for other people. So be compassionate towards other people. Be compassionate towards you. And realize that most of the time we are faulty. Once in a while we are okay. If you have that acceptance, then you realize majority of the stress, majority of the problems, majority of the worrying, they will disappear. And even the other people, they respect you. Even they are willing to listen to you. because you are not a person who is forcing your ideas on them. You are not a person who is trying to correct everything. Instead, you act when it is necessary. Instead, you put force when it is necessary. If you know that proper balance, then you can run with very little energy. You are very efficient. You are energy efficient. You don't need so many gallons of fuel to run. Instead, you need only very little energy and you can function. Even your body, it is not demanding so much fuel. If you know the proper way, if you know the proper balance, even your body can survive with little food. Because you are efficient. You are energy efficient. You are not wasting energy. If you are wasting energy in your mind, then of course, that's the major energy consumer. Your mind, or let's say the brain, whatever you like to call it, that is the main energy consumer. If you are wasting energy there, then of course you need so much food. Whenever you feel worrying, you need to eat. So that's how most of the people are, but we try to change ourselves. We try to move towards betterment. And with practice, with this proper balance, when you develop this proper balance, you can really figure out that I am more energy efficient. I do things when the time is right. I speak when the time is right. I put force when the time is right. That very balance you can figure out. We invite you to practice again and again. Try to figure out the proper balance of being mindful. If you know the proper balance of being mindful among thoughts, if you know the proper balance of being mindful among past memories, if you know the proper balance of being mindful among other things, then you develop the proper balance. Then you know the proper balance of life, how to put things, how to act, when to act. Those things you will know. So try to practice, try to find this proper balance in your mind of being mindful. Then eventually that balance will evolve into your life. Otherwise, we are just wasting energy trying to force ourselves into sleep. Take that example. That's the very idea. You are trying to force yourself to sleep. And you end up staying up even few more hours later than the usual sleep time. So that's how we approach most of the things our lives. But if you know the proper way, if you know the proper balance, then you realize it is a natural process. The sleeping will come naturally when the mind is relaxed. Mindfulness will come naturally when the mind is relaxed. Problems will solve themselves when you are relaxed. That proper balance you can find in life. This is an invitation for you to practice and for you to find that proper balance. Thank you for listening. With that, Namanta, you can take over.
Thank you very much, Bhante, and many merits for that wonderful session on Wu Wei. Next, we have the agenda lined up for the question and answer session, and I would like to invite Sonali to commence the session on the question and answers. I will share the screen, Sonali.
Thank you, Namanta. Avasavai Bhante. We have the slide about the beginner's guide to mindfulness. We will go through that for anyone who's starting new or any refresher for the ones that you already know. Basically, there are two videos shared by Nissarana Vanaya about mindful walking, another one about mindful sitting. Watch these two once you have done. Allocate some time to practice. Start from any amount of time and build it up to the guidance is half an hour and then to an hour. And once you have practiced, put your experience into a report and send it over to us. We have a couple of reports we will be sharing with you later, so you can see the format it's been written. And you can share it with us at the Google form. I have checked the Google form today, and email beginnersnv@gmail.com. So we can move on now to the reports received. We have 2 reports. The first one, mindful walking. Walked indoors on carpeted floor. There was counting in the mind at the beginning, but soon the attention turned to sensations of walking. Pace was slow and felt the pressing of sole of one foot into the carpet while the other foot was moving. Shifting of body weight from side to side noted well. Thoughts arose and fell away. Sounds noted, and these stopped too. Neither was experienced as a nuisance, but as part of life. A calmer feeling pervaded in the mind, which is increased with time. When sleepiness arose and it was noted, the mind naturally moved attention to movements of feet. Sleepiness continued, but continued to note the movement of feet. Walked for 40 minutes. Mindful sitting. Sat on the cushion. After a body scan and adjusting the seated posture again, the breath appeared, which was felt around nostrils, then the movement of chest and movement of stomach. Thoughts arose and fell away, and it felt like that was taking place in the background. Felt the in and out breath with much of the upper body, including the slight movement of the shoulders. The body felt calm, the mind felt calm. Attention was on breathing of whole of the upper body. Peaceful feeling noted. Few thoughts emerged and fell away. Sat for 45 minutes. Mindfulness during the day. There still is chaos of building work in one part of the house, but interestingly, noticing how the mind is not reacting to much of it. Learned something valuable during last week. Many neighbors and friends wanted to offer space in their home for doing the office work, away from the intermittent noise at my place. They genuinely wanted to help, and we were grateful for their generosity. Then, while contemplating on how the day had gone, which is usually done prior to sleep at night, become aware of the difference between the external and internal landscape. Externally, there had been lots of chaos during the day, although there was a calm feeling in the mind internally. The trust in the ability to manage well in difficult or unusual situations seemed to be improving. The main learning from last week is that despite what is taking place during the day, it was possible to carve out some time for the formal practice. Bhante, thank you for your valuable feedback. Much merit to you and the organizers. End of report.
Okay, that report is good, even related to the topic that we are discussing today. So you can see in your report, you mentioned that the nuisances, they were accepted as a part of life, right? So you don't have to suppress them. Instead, they too are part of life, or they too are part of the present moment. So if you start suppressing them, if you start pushing them away, that's not the peace that we are after. Instead, you allow these things to evolve according to their own way. And among these things, you try to be mindful. That is the very practice. Among the troubles, among the thoughts, among the sounds, you try to be mindful. Among these nuisances, you try to be mindful. So that's how the peace is generated. That's what you mentioned towards the end of your report. Outside, it's chaos. Outside world, it's chaos. Construction work, it's chaos. But internally, you have peace. Internally, you have incremental levels of calm in your mind. That's the difference that will happen. What is the usual way? The world is chaos. The mind is even more hectic. That's the usual minds are. That's how they are. So no wonder they feel depressed. No wonder they feel suicidal. That's how the usual minds are. But we are transforming this mind. We are changing this mind. The outside world is chaos. You can't change it. But among these troubles, in this very world, we find peace internally. Otherwise, you need quiet places to find peace. No sounds can bother you. You need places without troubles to find peace. You need places without people to find peace. As long as you are in that place, you are peaceful. Soon you come to the reality. Soon you come to the real world. Soon you come to the people that you live with. Then you are not peaceful. We are not encouraging that way of practice. Instead, we are saying, trying to find the peace among these troubles. Trying to find peace among the thoughts. Trying to find silence among the sounds. You are in a busy city. Vehicle noises, various announcements, people talking, working, construction work, everything is there. But still, you can plug into the silence in between. So that's why we say, try to find the silence among these noises. Try to find the peace among these thoughts. So that's the way, that's the proper practice. And when you practice for few months, few years, you realize the outside world is the same. It hasn't changed, but internally there's change. Internally you feel more and more incremental levels of peace. Time to time, various things come. For a while, you are troubled, but you realize few seconds, few minutes, few hours, you let go. Your mind naturally lets go. And again, you are at peace. That is the real way. That is the real peace that we are talking about. So you can really experience this with practice. You don't have to do a difficult thing. Instead, do the 30 minutes of sitting daily. Do the 30 minutes of walking daily. Try to be mindful during your day-to-day life. Continue it for a few months. Then you realize the outside world is the same. Your spouse is the same. Your children, they are the same. Your job, it's the same. Your home, it's the same. But still, inside you feel peaceful. Earlier you tried to change the spouse. You tried to change your children. You tried to change jobs. You tried to move countries. But now you realize among the same situation, I am at peace. That is the real peace that we are talking about. Otherwise, the peace could be temporary. You are peaceful because the people are not there. You are peaceful, your wife is not there. That's temporary. But when you find the real peace, you realize that among these things, you find peace. Among these trouble, you find peace. No matter whether that there is construction work, your mind is at peace. That's a real change. That's what we are after. So thank you for sharing your experience. I'm sure it'll be good for others too, because they too can feel that with practice we can develop this.
Thank you very much, Bhante. That is actually very helpful for all of us. I will continue with the second report. Walking meditation. Walked on tiled floor, noting right and left legs being placed initially. Noted change in the pace, slowing down automatically as mind observed lifting, moving and placing, and then start and end of each of the movements. Some thoughts observed to arise, but mind went back to feet very quickly. Sounds, sights, not distracting. Warmth, cold, areas on feet noted. Shift of weight, occasional unsteadiness, discomfort, all noted to arise and pass. Walk for 30 minutes. Sitting meditation. Sat to observe breath, noting in and out breath and length of each. Initially in breath longer, but very soon both in and out breath were equal in length and short. Disappeared and reappeared in cycles. Mind not distracted by sounds. Occasional thoughts arose but passed. Short period when no thoughts were present. Sleepiness arose but mind aware, and this passed. Sat for 30 minutes. Daily mindfulness. Decided to observe for a short period, 15 minutes, what one does not have control over. Thirst arose, mind wanting to get a drink. Decided to wait and watch this pass, and mind noted a pain in the foot, which passed. Then urge to use toilet again, noting no control over the sensation arising. The thought that arose in mind, one has no control over. Sensation of dry hands, sweating, breath, all noted. Sensation of hunger arose next. And that's the end. With much gratitude to Bhante and organizers, that is the end of report, Bhante.
So that's a good observation. Now you can see how many triggers are there. Now, if you wait for a while, then they pass. Then another next thing come. It is coming saying this is urgent. Although last one wasn't urgent, this is urgent. You have to do something quickly. This saying. But again, if you stay for a while, then you realize that too will pass. Right? So it's a good way to see how many triggers are there within few minutes, let's say 15 minutes, how many urges we get. Urge to drink something, then urge to go to the bathroom, then urge to check your phone, urge to watch TV. So many urges are there. So these urges are driving us. So it's like you go to the north, few steps, then you turn, you go to the northeast, few steps, then you turn, you come to the south, few steps. So they're asking, are you going somewhere? No, you are rotating around. You are going here and there in the same area. You won't reach anywhere. You won't reach your destination. These urges are driving us. Within a day, probably like, I don't know how many times these urges are driving us. Even when you talk with other people, it is really difficult to keep them on topic. You give them a trigger, they go astray with that trigger. So sometimes I play that game because I don't want to waste time discussing. So I say, I give a trigger. Then 5 minutes wasted on that one. Then another trigger. Another 5 minutes wasted on that one. Another trigger, another 5 minutes wasted on that one. Then 15 minutes over, end of the appointment. They say, Bhante, I came to say this, there is a complaint, there is a question, but you didn't answer it. You didn't present the question, no? He was talking about something else, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that's how our minds are. You can really check the mindfulness of that person by giving a trigger. Whether they are returning to the origin or whether they are going astray. Usually what happens is that talking. 1 hour of talking and you realize you have talked nothing. All the things in the world you talked, but nothing you talked really. That's how the meetings are. That's why Elon Musk is saying no meetings. Because they are talking bullshit in those meetings. 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour wasted. All the people they gather and they are talking blah, blah, blah. That's how. So he's saying no meetings. And if there's a burning need, not more than 20 minutes. 20 minutes, that's the maximum. Because they don't know what to talk. They don't know how to stay on the topic. They don't know how to talk related to the topic. It's really fun to watch a meeting. When I was working, we had few meetings every week. So you go prepared, you go with a drink, you know that it will last for a few hours. You start listening to other people. Somebody is saying one thing, the other person is talking about his family problems. Then the other one is talking about a stomach problem. So that's how the me time is spent. Because every time our mind gets an urge, you are going astray with that. That's why you are touching your screen how many times per day? 2,500 times you are touching. So many touches are there because every time you get an urge, you go check it. Let's say there's somebody who is supposed to message you. How many times you check your phone? Sometimes you even feel like there was a beep. You go and check, still no beep. Again you hear a beep. You go and check, still no beep. So this beep is in your mind. So that's how the trigger is. That's how the urges are. Usually what happens is that we are getting carried away with these urges. But the mindful practitioner, they watch the urges. They don't act always. I'm saying always. They don't act. Instead, they watch the urges. Okay, there's an urge to go to the bathroom. Okay, there's an urge to drink water. Okay, there's urge to check your phone. Okay, there's urge to eat something. Okay, there's urge to go outside. So that way you keep watching. You realize every few minutes another thing will come. A new thing will come. If you don't act, then the first one will vanish, another thing will come. If you don't act, another thing will come. So it's a fun game to see how many urges are there. So when you see a person running like a dog here and there, you feel their mentality, you feel that they are caught in this process. In a way, you feel compassionate towards them. Because no other person can save them. They have to realize it on their own. So that's why people are behaving this way. You can't really blame them. They have so many urges in their minds. When they have those urges, when they go astray on those urges, who can save them? You can have a compassionate look towards them, but still, if you know, you don't interfere. If you think you can save them, you are faulty. Instead, have compassion, but allow them to find their own destiny. Allow them to find their own path. You know that they are caught, but you can't help them. Instead, you watch with compassion. That's how the Buddha is looking at us. Most of the people, he knows that they are caught. He can't help them. That's the compassionate look that he is having on his face. Half crying, half smiling, right? So that's how we have to develop the practice. When you develop that awareness, when you know how this mind is fooling us again and again, when you know how these urges are working, then you can simply watch. You can simply watch your own mind. You can simply watch even the other people. How much caught they are in their own mind. How much astray they go on those urges that they have. It's a fun game. It's a fun game to watch this process. Milarepa, he is saying, when there's an urge, he is talking about these urges, right? So when you throw a stone at a dog, the dog will run after the stone and bite it. That's the reaction of the dog. But when you throw a stone at a lion, then the lion will turn towards the direction it came. Or the lion will turn towards the origin of the stone. So he says nobody dare to throw a stone at a lion for the second time. Because you are done. In the very first time, you are done. Right? You don't survive to throw it in the second time. So that's how the most people are. They behave like dogs. I'm talking about the mind. I'm talking about workings of the mind. So that's the way. You go after the urges. You go astray on those urges. But if you have that attitude of a lion, you know that the root is not this. You know that the cause is not this. You simply watch. Then you realize the cause disappears and that urge also disappears. Again, something else comes. You watch. So this penetrating look is lion's attitude. This penetrating look that we are practicing, that's the mindfulness. The urges come, but you watch through them. See through them. You see through the painting to see the canvas. You see through the clouds to see the sky. You see through the movie to see the screen behind it. Most of the people, they are lost in the movie. They can't see through the movie to see the screen. They don't even know that there is a screen. Most of the people, they are lost in the painting. They are analyzing the painting. Now, there was this funny story. A charcoal painting from a 3-year-old was hanged in a museum with a red carpet, right? Just to see as a social experiment to see how the people react. They go, they watch for a few hours, and they come into a conclusion. This is done. This is a masterpiece. Because you are lost in the painting. You don't see the canvas behind it. It's a 3-year-old doing a charcoal painting, but you think it's a masterpiece. That's how our minds are. So the practice is to see through this painting to see the canvas behind. See through the clouds to see the sky. See through the movie to see the screen behind it. That's the idea. So keep practicing. Thank you for adding that point. So I think we could discuss further on it. And you can share once again.
Thank you very much, Bhante, and thank you to everyone who had sent reports to us. We have a few minutes we can spare for questions today, since we had such an interesting topic, an unusual topic, I should say. If anyone's got questions, please raise your Zoom hand and we will let you unmute and ask your question. Samantha, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Sonali. Thank you, Bhante, for that amazing session today. That lots of things came popping into my mind, but I won't go through everything, otherwise we'll be here for another hour. The main thing that came to me was really the Noble Eightfold Path, the right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. Those three factors, to develop those factors, and then the effort to just basically, as Bhante was explaining, like the way the water flows, and the tree being like the tree, the branch gets cut off and then it just grows. Like acceptance came to my mind as well, and to trying to develop those qualities, acceptance and the right effort. Now, the only thing I have, the right effort, I think the two things came to me is that I need to make the effort to meditate daily. That's a very valuable thing that Bhante keeps reminding us, and especially me, to really make that effort to keep on meditating every day. Because when I go on retreat situations, I do the retreat, then I come back and then I fall back into my bad habits. So I think it's really important that I keep continuing to meditate every day. And then to see, and also for me to make an effort, like during stress, especially during stressful situations, not to react. So that's the only time that I would really, I think, had to be mindful. There's so many things going on, I suppose, at this stage, to be mindful of the situation in the present moment, and then catch that and make a big effort. I think I need to make, not to react and lash out. So I think I realized that after, through the meditation, the mind, I can sort of like try and control that, so that I can sort of like just keep my mouth, say in a stressful situation, not say anything, just catch the breath, and then go somewhere, stay calm, and then that mindful will come into it, and then think exactly how to respond to that situation. So there were lots of things that Bhante said that was really buzzing in my head, but the main thing, I think I really need to sort of like carry on with my meditation. Thank you, Bhante. I really value today's talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, thank you for adding that. As you mentioned, those two things are valuable, right? One is the effort. Now today we talked about effortless action, right? So usually people think that effort is like powering through, right? They think that 5 days residential retreat and I'll attain something towards the end. That's the usual attitude that we have, right? So it's good in a way, but you realize 5 days won't do. So we are not running 100 meters. Instead, it's a 10K marathon, right? So you have, what is the effort in a 10K marathon? Every day you sit for 30 minutes. Every day you walk for 30 minutes. Then go on doing your own thing. Again, tomorrow you sit for 30 minutes, walk for 30 minutes, then remaining 23 hours, you can do your own thing. Then the day after also, you sit for 30 minutes, walk for 30 minutes, again you go on doing your own thing, right? Can you continue like that for 3 months? That's the question I'm asking usually from newcomers. Now you know how to practice. Can you continue for 3 months like this? That is the proper effort. That is the real effort. That is the right effort. Otherwise you think within 5 days I'll finish. That's not how it works. Instead, You apply effort, but you apply wisely. That wisdom part is missing from us. That's the issue. We have effort, but that effort will kill you. Oh, that effort will kill somebody else. That's the only result you will get. You need the wise effort. That's what we call right effort. You are not just having effort, you are putting it wisely. That is the real balance. That's the Wu way that we are talking about. Effortless action. You put effort in the right moment. Judo, it's a good example, right? It's like dancing with adversity. They call judo dancing with adversity. You are not putting force. Instead, you are dancing with the opponent. See a match, they are dancing. They are sizing each other up, right? And when the moment is right, you apply suddenly force. When you apply sudden force in the right moment, you can throw your opponent across the room. That's the sport that they are playing. Dancing with adversity. Till you get the opportunity, till you get the right moment. So that balance we don't have. That's the issue. Then the second thing is stressful situations, adversity, right? So when it comes to those things, only being conscious, that's the only solution. You can't avoid these situations all the time. You can't run away from them. You can't suppress them. What is the solution? Being conscious. Now in your today's comment, you say that I am conscious. I know that these are the difficult situations. I am conscious of them. That consciousness will save you. You are aware, you go prepared. That preparedness, that consciousness will save you. Nothing else will save you. You have to be conscious. Okay, I am making falls in these stressful situations. Again and again and again and again. But you are conscious. You know that this is happening. That very awareness will save you. Nothing else. Right? With that awareness, you can create certain situations. You can create certain gaps. You can create certain distances. You can take some time. You can delay certain things. So though all those things will come as a result of that being conscious. Right? So both points are very valuable. Effort should be right effort, not just force. Instead, practicing 30 minutes daily for 3 months, for 1 year, for 2 years. It requires effort, not just simple effort. It's the right effort. It's the wise effort. Then those situations, when it comes to stressful situations, being conscious, that you already have. That's why you are mentioning. I am conscious. That very consciousness will save you. Then you can do certain adjustments, certain gaps, certain distances, certain delays you can do. You can find your own unique solutions. But the thing you need is being conscious. Right? So continue and we can discuss once more.
Thank you, Bhante. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Bhante. I think we're running out of time again. We won't have any more time for questions. For the person who had just asked if you could share, I think Namantha had shared all the details on the chat now. And if there's anything else, please email us at beginnersnv@gmail.com. We will be able to help you out further. Namantha, I think that's the end. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sonali, and much thanks to you, and also much thanks to Bhante for valued guidance. I am sure we have learned a lot which we can apply in the coming week. With that, I would like to bring the program towards a closing. I would like to share merits with Venerable Bhante for Bhante's time and commitment to this session today. We wish that Bhante will have the merits help to achieving of Bhante's own goals on mindfulness. And I would also like to mention with much respect Most Venerable Bhante Udayarigam Dhamma Thero, who requested this program to be conducted initially. We will pass on merits to Chief Bhante and wish that Chief Bhante will also prosper in achieving Chief Bhante's own goals on mindfulness practice. Plus, there are a wonderful team of organizers who are behind this program, working hard and making changes and improvements all the time. So we wish these merits will pass on to them and that they will each individually achieve their mindfulness goals. So with that, and I would also like to mention that your participation is highly valued and you provide us the basis justification for the program to be conducted. So I wish all of you who watch this program through Zoom and through the Facebook live stream will gather these merits and improve your own mindfulness practice and achieve the goals. Next, I think I have pasted the information in the chat section for the person who joined newly. Apologies for getting a bit delayed on that. So I would like to wish you a mindful, happy week ahead, and hope that you are able to practice these concepts and make them your own skills and capabilities to face whatever things that life brings towards you. We practice in advance so that when things come up, we are ready to face them with the right toolkit, with mindful practice being achieved up to that point in time. So it's a continuous practice, and likewise the program is a continuous program. It's a continued weekly. We will be meeting next Saturday again for the same type of session on the same subject of Wu Wei for next week. So with that, I would close the Zoom session and hope to see you next week. Wish you a mindful week ahead. Thank you.